There's a moment when grief stops being something that happens to you and starts being something you can actually do something with. And the day I picked up a shovel and started digging was the day everything shifted. I didn't know I was about to build the most important thing in my life. I thought I was just planting a few flowers. It started with a loss so heavy, it had its own gravitational pull. The kind that makes you walk into rooms and forget why you're alive, let alone why you entered. Someone I loved was gone, and the world had the audacity to keep moving, which, honestly, felt like a personal insult. Here's the thing nobody tells you about grief. It's not just emotional, it's architectural, meaning it restructures your entire inner world, whether you want it to or not. So when a therapist said, find a way to externalize it, I heard, build something. Because I've always been more comfortable with dirt under my fingernails than tears on my face. The memorial garden I created covers roughly 400 square feet of what used to be a neglected corner of my backyard, a space so overgrown and forgotten it practically had its own ecosystem of disappointment. I chose a garden specifically because, unlike a tombstone, a garden asks something of you every single week, which felt honest. I mapped the whole thing out on a napkin at 2 in the morning, fueled by cold coffee and the kind of clarity that only comes when you've been crying for 3 hours straight. The design included their favorite flowers, lavender and marigolds, a small bench, a stone engraved with their name, and a bird feeder, because they always said birds were just tiny, loud miracles. Step 1 was clearing the ground, which sounds simple until you realize you are also, metaphorically, clearing the ground inside yourself. I ripped out weeds for 4 weekends in a row, and I am not exaggerating when I say it was the most therapeutic violence I have ever committed against plant life. Step 2 was soil, because here's the truth. Most people skip you cannot build something living on dead ground, and that applies to gardens and people equally. I brought in fresh compost, turned the earth, and thought about how I was literally creating the conditions for something to grow where nothing had before. The planting phase, step 3, happened on the anniversary of their passing, which was either deeply symbolic or deeply masochistic. And honestly, it was probably both. My hands shook the entire time, but the lavender went in straight. And there is something quietly powerful about doing a hard thing well, even when you are falling apart. Here is the misconception I want to address directly. People assume memorial projects are only for people who are good at grieving, whatever that means, or that you need artistic talent or big budget to make something meaningful. I spent less than $300 total, sourced half the plants from neighbors, and the most technically complex thing I installed was a solar-powered garden light from a hardware store clearance bin. The ongoing impact is where this story stops being just mine and starts being something else entirely. Within the first summer, 3 neighbors asked if they could sit in the garden when they were having hard days. That bench I built for one person quietly became a community landmark, which is both beautiful and, frankly, a little hilarious, given that I built it while wearing pajamas and eating a granola bar. A grief counselor once told me that the most powerful memorials are ones that require maintenance, because they give you a reason to return a ritual, a rhythm, a relationship with the memory that evolves instead of calcifies. Every spring when I replant the marigolds, I am not repeating an action. I am having a new conversation with someone I lost, and somehow it never feels the same twice. The psychological research backs this up. Studies on what researchers call continuing bonds theory suggest that healthy grief doesn't sever the connection to the deceased, but transforms it. I am living proof that you can love someone actively, with your hands in the dirt, long after they are gone. There's an irony here worth naming. I started this project thinking I was honoring someone else, and what I accidentally did was rebuild myself. The memorial changed my relationship to patience, to slowness, to the idea that not everything worth doing produces results by Friday. The practical lesson, the one I'd hand to anyone standing at the edge of their own grief with no idea what to do with their hands, is this: start small, start imperfect, and start now, because the doing is the healing, not the finished product. Position yourself for the long game, because a garden in its first year looks nothing like what it becomes in year 5. And the same is true for you. I won't pretend every morning I go out there's a profound spiritual experience sometimes. I'm just pulling weeds in yesterday's socks, annoyed that the rabbits found the marigolds again. But even on those mornings, there is a quiet comfort in showing up for something that needed you. And that, in the end, is the whole philosophy. Discipline built this garden, not inspiration. Consistency keeps it alive, not passion. And those two sentences are true about grief, about healing, and about most things worth doing in this life. I am comfortable with whatever this garden becomes because I made peace with the process the day I put the first seed in the ground. If any part of this resonated with you, the loss, the building, the bittersweet humor of healing in pajamas, then you already understand why I made it, and you might already know what you need to make. And if you like this video, subscribe and check out all our other topics.